There's no such thing as a real immortal, at least not in the way that most people assume. Those of us that live longer than memory, longer than myth, would eventually be called home to the Creator, whether by his own design or the heat death of the universe. The immense boredom of wandering the planet, even among the various planes of existence, would be too much for any of us to bear for an actual eternity. That was what I tried to remind myself of as I stood on the wet pavement in front of a single-story craftsman house in a quiet neighborhood in North Seattle. Death, the end of one's corporeal form, eventually came for us all in one way or another. I didn't know the name of the man who owned the house, had never met him, but as I climbed his steps and passed through the locked front door, I watched the moments he held dearest in my mind's eye. It was never the grand events that these souls broadcasted out into the universe as they separated from their mortal bodies, not the weddings or the graduations, though occasionally the birth of a child made its way in. It was the quiet moments, the man's wife handing him a perfect cup of tea, an afternoon nap on the couch with his favorite cat, his daughter's giggles as he pushed her on a swing, the scent of the perfume that his mother had favored when he was young. I did not know him, but in that moment I loved him, just as I loved thousands of souls that I had escorted safely into the afterlife over the years. I never knew their names, didn't know where they came from or where they were going, but I knew them for a few brief moments, knew the shape of their soul and who they were at their core, saw them in their final moments and bore the duty of protecting them on their final steps to the other side. The tug of his soul pulled me through the darkened front room of the house. If I'd possessed the ability to broaden my focus, I would have noticed the favorite cat perched on the arm of the sofa, watching me as I crossed the room in silence, or the progression of family photos that showed children becoming adults and having children of their own, spanning the length of the hallway, or the soft, even breaths from the man's wife, still sleeping peacefully beside his now unoccupied body, unaware her beloved was with her no more. But his soul called to mine, and everything else was unimportant. I stopped at the end of their bed, one foot in the natural world and one foot in the ether. His spirit hovered directly above where he had slept, his presence illuminated by a faint white glimmer, invisible to anyone who couldn't see into the spirit realm. It's common for people who don't realize they're dead to remain in the same spot they died in, perhaps even going about the same tasks they were performing when they passed. A faint sense of relief stole through me to find that he had not gone wandering. He was still safe. Well, as safe as a dead man could be, in any case.